Mishnah Lamed Vav and Beis Kol Shechayovin Olov Mishum Shvus. That you're liable for violating a shvus is a rabbinic law. Mishum Rishus. Rishus, we'll see what it is. It's also a rabbinic prohibition. Mishum Mitzvah, even something which is mitzvah b'Shabbos. Chayovin Olov b'Yom Tov. Whatever is considered rabbinically, a rabbinic fence in many applications for Shabbos. On Yom Tov, that same rabbinic fence is in place. Sometimes we differentiate between Shabbos and Yom Tov. In regard to the fences, we don't make any differentiation between Shabbos and Yom Tov. Which fences don't we differentiate? Ve'eluhein, Shum. These are the rabbinic fences. It's not mitzvah related. Lo olin bilon. You're not permitted to climb a tree. Even if you will say only, it doesn't mean. What about it? You want to lean on the tree? You want to tie your shoes and you want to lean on the tree while you're tying your shoes. Not permitted. You want to rest. And by resting, you can just lean on the tree to rest. You're not permitted. That all goes into climbing the tree. Because Mora says, it's a gzeira that very often when a person comes in contact with a tree, what does he do? It's inevitable you break off a branch. To break off a branch, it's kotzer. It's reaping. You're not permitted. So that's the reason why they said you cannot climb a tree or you can't have any association with the tree in terms of using the tree. Lo rochen agabi behemo. You're not permitted to ride an animal. Even though we say chaynos is atzmo, a person is not, on a Torah level it's not considered working the animal. The answer is because the Gemara is going to say because there's a concern you may go out of the tchum. When you ride an animal, you lose track of distance, and what happens if you go out of the tchum, out of the limits? So that's the reason. You're not permitted to swim because the Gemara says because you may make some kind of swimming apparatus, which is makat patish. So therefore, you're not permitted to swim on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Lo metapchim, you're not permitted to clap. Because when you clap, again, when you're rejoicing, you're clapping, or lo mesapkin, or you dance, that's what? You may make a musical instrument. Make a musical instrument with what? That's makat bepatish. Again, it's bringing something to a level of perfection. That's mishum shvus. It's unrelated to mitzvah. Elohim mishum rishus. What's rishus? Lo donin, the court's not permitted to convene to give a verdict. Lo mekachin, you're not permitted to marry on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Marriage. Lo cholzin, woman is a yavama and you want to give her the release, she should be able to marry. Not permitted in chalitza, rabbinically. Lo miyabin, you're not permitted to form yibum because yibum is the equivalent of what? Of marriage. Just as you're not permitted to marry, you're not permitted to form yibum. Ve'elein mishum mitzvah. What is directly a mitzvah? Lo makdishin, you're permitted to consecrate. Lo marichin, person says, erki olai, my innate values on me. Torah gives each, based on age groups, men and women, they have an innate value. Lo machrimim, also it's like to designate a property for the Kohen. Lo madvin shuma meiser, you're not permitted to tithe. We discussed this many times, because before you tithe, what is it? It's tevel, you're not permitted to eat it. So when you tithe, it has a semblance of what? Of perfecting, rabbinically. Kol eila b'Yom Tov. Omru kal v'chom b'Shabbos. If this is already usher on Yom Tov, kal v'chom b'Shabbos. Definitely in Shabbos, right? Because it's more chomer. Ein b'Yom Tov l'Shabbos and lochel nefesh. So what is the difference in Shabbos and Yom Tov? Lochel nefesh. Food-related activities is permitted on Yom Tov, but outside of that, Shabbos and Yom Tov are identical in terms of what you're not permitted to. Whether it's on a Torah level, whether it's on a rabbinic level, it's identical. Okay. Let's see Rashi. Kol shechayv olov medivri sofrim shel lasosa b'Shabbos, something that you're liable rabbinically. Shel lasosa b'Shabbos mishum shvus or mishum rishus sheish bo k'tzas mitzvah. Why is it called rishus? Because it has a semblance of mitzvah. What's the case? Marriage. It's not a full-blown mitzvah. It's not like consecrating something for hegdish. Avalo mitzvah gedola. He says we're referring to rishus as something which is not a great mitzvah. Consecrating something that's a great mitzvah. Avalo mitzvah gedola, v'karafu lios dav rishus. It borders marriage. V'yeshbo isab divri sof, and that's what we're referring to as rishus. Omi shum mitzvah, something is a bona fide mitzvah. Sheish mitzvah mamish v'asrum b'chachom l'asum, even though it's a mitzvah consecrating something, it's a mitzvah tithing. Truma ma'is, it's a mitzvah saseh. Chayven olav shelasos b'yom v'elu hein dvorim shasur mishum shvus sheiti lo av chachomim lishvos. What are examples of a rabbinic fence? By doing them, there's no mitzvah. You're not permitted to climb a tree. Kulo miforish b'gemara my gozav urab. Why did they establish a fence of not climbing a tree? Lo metapchim biyad. You're not permitted to clap. Ve'im mesabkin yorach. You're not permitted to clap on your thigh, right? Ve'im ragdin b'regel. You're not permitted to dance. Kulan the simchul l'shir. This is all you do it for rejoicing. Lumar meforish gezeru shem yisakin kedeg neklishir. Because his concern, once a person is in the spirit of rejoicing, he may fashion a musical instrument to kovid mona. And what's the provision of fashioning a musical instrument? That's kovid mona. That's makab patish. You're making a vessel. You're not permitted. What's the rishus that's began? We should really permit it. Why? Because it has a semblance of a mitzvah, like marriage, chalitza, yibum. He says it's only relative to a real mitzvah. It's rishus, like I said, consecrating something, tithing something. That's a bona fide mitzvah. Okay. So he says it has a semblance of a mitzvah, but it's not the bona fide mitzvah, he says. Right? Consecrating something, tithing, truma, that's a mitzvah gemura, it's an absolute mitzvah. This interim, this in-between stage, it's only relative to a bona fide mitzvah, we're calling this rishus. Rishus means non-obligatory. Lahanat kamoi kori shvus the isa shvus gomer yesh ben fi she'en ben tzad l'sal gzeres chachomim yaleim she'en ben lachluchas mitzvah. There's not even lachluchas. There's not even lachluchas means there's not even the dustings of a mitzvah. Lo donin din lo makachin isha or shamakor the rishus lo makachin hegdesh magdishin katzke marichan erki olai ercholai nosid fi shonim. When you say something to be chayrim, that's consecrating something for Bene Kabayas, for the refurbishment of the Beis Hamikdash. Okay. Let's see the Gemara. Lo olim bilon. Why aren't you permitted to climb a tree? Right. Shema yitlosh. Because there's a concern that you may break off a branch. Lo rochen agabi behemo. Why aren't you permitted to ride an animal? Because you lose track of distance. You may, before you turn around, you'll be outside of the city limits. Shmamino. Now, we have a principle. Whenever you make a gzero, you don't make a rabbinic fence to protect the fence. Fences are meant to protect the Torah law. So if the gzera is, if there's a gzero concern, you may go out of the same limits. So evidently going out of similar limits must be an issa d'oraisa. Because if worse regard, it's only rabbinical, so you're creating a fence to protect the fence. We don't do that. So that we're saying that the reason why you're not permitted to ride the behemoth is the animals, because you may go out of the tchums, shmaminos, from there we're able to extrapolate, tchum d'oraisa, that the provision of going out of the city limits is d'oraisa. El gozru, somewhere says, which is not so simple, it's machlok tanoim, el goshem yachtoch is mora. You know why? Because when a person only rides, you usually have a riding crop. And in the old days, when people, they were very innovative. So the person didn't have a professional riding crop. You break over a branch, and that will be his riding crop. So since the person does this reflexively without thinking, if you allow a person to ride an animal, he may do that. So it's a fence that you shouldn't be in violation of kotzer, of reaping. Why aren't you permitted to swim? You may make this swimming apparatus like a tube, which is makab patish. Rashi. Second. Klisha guma she'organ also. Yeah. Further. Let's see.
ask you a quick question? Why is it that riding on an animal is not considered working animal?
No, because we say there's a principle, chaynos is atzmo. Let's say you carry something in the street, you carry an animal or bird, in violation of transporting, right? If you carry a human being, you're not in violation of transporting. Because the Gemara says in Shabbos, chaynos is atzmo. A living person, he carries himself. So Tosfos explains in Shabbos, everything's learned from the Mishkan. The Mishkan, they transported animals, birds, whatever they needed. When you transport an animal or bird, the bird tries to escape your grasp, so it pulls itself down. It like fights you. So therefore, it's like weighted down. A human being, when you carry him, he's not fighting you. So therefore, first it wasn't the Mishkan, see, but what? But since a person doesn't fight you, so it doesn't have the same weightiness as the bird and the animal. You got it? Therefore, it's only rabbinical. Therefore, it's rabbinical, because everything's done from the Mishkan. They didn't carry human beings in the Mishkan. But what's the semblance of it, right? So he's saying this is the semblance. Okay, so a person riding an animal, it's like there's no weight on the animal. You're not permitted to load up an animal. That's not called loading up the animal. Okay? So there's a Tosfos here. It says, why aren't you permitted to swim? Because you may make the swimming apparatus. He takes these reeds and he weaves them into like a round basket, and he swims with this basket. Yeah. 1 second. Alma the Cheresu, the Cheresu. Okay, this question. Okay. Okay? Because you may fashion a musical instrument. That's the reason. Somewhere asks about mitzvah. How do you just say it's rishus? Marriage is a mitzvah. Chalitz is a mitzvah. Yibum is a mitzvah. But they're all classified in Mishnah as rishus. Rishus means non-obligatory. We're speaking where somebody else is more eligible. Is that the way he explains it? That there's a brother who's more eligible? There's something more. No, I think, no. Because the Gemara is answering, because there are other mitzvahs which are more bona fide mitzvahs, therefore, relatively speaking, we refer to this as a rishus. Is that what he explains it? Oh, just in the translation. Relative to others, that's what we call this a rishus. Relative to tithing and to consecrating.
Just as here, when he's obligated to marry children, there
Well, that's the first question. That's the first question. So how do you refer to it as rishus? Rishus seems to be non-obligatory. What?
No, it's saying. Go to this footnote here. Stop the trailer, but I'm not sure how to find it.
27. What is up to marry so that he won't have children? Thereby fulfilling. No, so therefore the marriage is not the mitzvah. The mitzvah is to have the children. The one before.
It's referring to a certain footnote. There's the last sentence before that. Just look at betrothal. Oh, it's a different page altogether.
Yeah. Okay. So Gemara says, relative to this, therefore referring to this as rishus. They say, they always say, who's perfect in the absolute sense? Norman, who's perfect in the absolute sense? Only a Kodesh Baruch Hu is perfect. Anybody else, when we say he's perfect, it's only relative to somebody who's less perfect. And as you see people more perfect, so let's say you have a much more perfect person. Say this person would be considered mediocre because he's a lot better than those below him, but since there's so many who are beyond him, he's a mediocre person. So the way you classify anything is based on what? Relative to other things. So relative, so he says the reason why, even though it's a mitzvah, marriage is a mitzvah, yibum is a mitzvah, chalitza is a mitzvah, but relative to the others like consecration or tithing, which is the actual mitzvah itself, it's a whole different thing. Okay? The truth is, I don't hear why. I mean, yibum is a mitzvah. It's a passive commandment. Why relative to consecration is that less of a mitzvah? Right? That I don't hear. I could hear it because maybe if there are other brothers, he doesn't have to do it. That's the rishus aspect. See, marriage, you have to get married to have children. Okay? Or consecration. Lo mekachi. The Gemara asks, you're not permitted to get married. The Gemara says, "Vo mitzkovid." Yeah. Lo tzricha dis leisha gon. The man has other wives. You hear this? The Mishnah says that you're not permitted to get married, speaking where he has a wife and children. Besides this one, he wants to marry another wife. He's not permitted. Therefore, it's what? Therefore, it's called rishus. It's not. You're not obligated. The person's not obligated to have more than one wife.
I found the footnote.
Yeah.
It says the interpretation of this question and answer exchange, as well as the previous one about educating, is a subject of dispute among the Rishonim. According to Rashi, even someone without a wife and children is prohibited to betrothal on the Sabbath. And the Gemara really argues that in such a case, the act of betrothal is in the category of an outright mitzvah, and asserts that betrothing is categorized as rishus only because sometimes when one already has a wife and children, it's not an outright mitzvah.
Right.
I mean, Tom, however, understands that the Gemara's question regarding betrothing means that since it is an outright mitzvah, it should be permitted. Thus, when the Gemara answers the Mishnah, refers to someone who already has a wife and children, implies that someone who does not have a wife and children can be betrothed.
Right. That's what he says. Then it says, Lo chotzel miyabim. Somebody spoke of mitzvah covered. It says this rishus. See, now permitting b'chalitza yibam, but he's doing a mitzvah. Lo tzricha dika godel. That's what he said, because there's an older brother. See, for him, it's not mitzvah godel yabim. The cooler time of Mai. Well, all these things, why aren't you permitted to marry? Why aren't you do chalitza? Because there's always a document written. So since it's always associated with writing, the person reflexively, without thinking, is going to write. So Rashi says, if it's a verdict, he'll write. They record the verdict. Marriage, it's shtar ersin for kedushin, shtar chalitza lecholetzes, uksuba liyavama. Okay, that's the reason. Ve'elein mishum mitzvah l'madishin lo arichin lo machrimin zeh shem mishum mekach memkar. Reason why it's not permitted because it's like engaging in commerce. Lo magvin trumus u'maisos pshita Tony Rav Yosef lo tshel litn lekoyin bo b'yom. So you think maybe it's a whole nefesh. Maybe you'd be permitted to tithe it, to allow the coin to have it. Vani mi Paris the tefili me'esmo. Paris the tefili yo idno gon isa shafushim yo chala mafishinon yavinu lekoyin. We had this earlier. That's only if he could have tithed it before Yom Tif. What about if it's something impossible, like a person made a batter on Yom Tif, the dough? So he has an obligation to tithe it. He tithed everything. No, he didn't tithe it. This dough didn't exist when originally you tithed the house. Okay? Aber per det filo idno kagon isish la frushe mino halo chala b'fashrinan yavin lo koyin aiva v'hanim mishum rishus iko shu shves leko. Second. When are you not permitted to do it? Because it could have been done before Yom Tif. Al per dit tefillah in the pairs that it became tevel on Yom Tif. Sorry. I really commend them, despite everything, to toe the line, raise a religious family, never to veer as much as an iota off the straight line, despite your internal difficulties. Okay. It's understood. That's only if he could have tied them before. But fruits, he could only, it came about, came on Yom to go miso. First makes a batter, right? The batter that you make on Yom Tov, could have you made it before, right? You couldn't have tied it before. First makes dough. When's the Chiyuv Challah come out? When you make dough. So let's say you made the dough on Yom Tov. So you said, well, you should have taken before. You couldn't take it before. Yes. It says this is Rishus, that's Shvus. But this is not going to be called. What do we categorize as separate things? Right? Shvus means rabbinically, it's a rabbinic fence. They're all rabbinic fences. Hani mishum mitzvah iko, mishum shvus leko. If it would be shvus, which has no relevance to mitzvah, it's understood they made the fence. Shvus to rishus, it doesn't mean that the rishus is not a shvus. It's also rabbinic. It's a rabbinic refrain. Nami osa, lomi boy shvus to rishus, because it's less mitzvah, or elafilu shvus to mitzvah. Even it's a rabbinic fence, we're performing a mitzvah, nami osa. Okay? You're not permitted to on Yom Tov, definitely. Shabbos you're not permitted, because Shabbos is more chomer, right? It says you're permitted to drop the fruits through the skylight on Yom Tif, but not on Shabbos. The Mishnah is called Elu. Yom Tif Amru Kavacham B'Shabbos. So what's the worst question? Yeah. Definitely. Isn't the Mishnah, you permitted to lower fruit through the roof on Yom Tov, not on Shabbos? So it's I think the question is, it's like a contradiction. Mishnah here says whatever is rabbinically not permitted on Yom Tov is not permitted on Shabbos. Okay? Yeah, but it doesn't say whatever is permitted on Yom Tov is permitted on Shabbos. Right? It doesn't say. It says you're permitted to take the fruit, drop it through the skylight, but you're not permitted on Shabbos.
Wouldn't that be direct also nefesh, though?
Yeah, but they let you to do an excessive level of exertion. Yom Tov, it's ochel nefesh. Therefore, they let you do it. But the Gemara says Shabbos carries the death penalty. Therefore, we're more machmir. That's what it says on Shabbos not. Yeah. Look, how Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yeshua. The Mishnah before is going like Rabbi Lezer, is going to Yeshua the Tanya. Also, it's notion of Lamor. The halach is a mother and its calf. You're not permitted to slaughter on the day. Let's say they both fell into a pit, so you're permitted to take them out, maybe because you're permitted to slaughter. But could you take both of them out? You can't take both of them out because if you take the other one out, it's a tirch shel tzarach. You're exerting yourself. It has no value because you can only slaughter one. So the question is, how could you give that out? Are you permitted to use a subterfuge to say, well, I want to see what the other one may be a better one, so I want to choose the better of the two. We'll see. Also, no, slaughter it. The pit, it shouldn't die. Take the in mind that you want to slaughter. Okay. Then choshesh, v'chozer, mal serishon am not shochto, ve'eno shochto, v'chozer l'asheni. Then he uses the subterfuge. He takes the second one out. Runs his shocher, then makes his choice. I don't hear the question, so what? Second. Reb Les says, Malas Rishon am not shochto b'shochto. V'asheni oslo paras b'kom. Reb Shua says, no, Malas Rishon am not b'shochto, and you don't slaughter it. V'choser marim Hashem, then you use a subterfuge, you bring up the second one, and now you make your decision which one you want to slaughter. So therefore, that's the argument over here. So the Mishnah that says that you're not permitted, that's going like, what's his name? It's going like Rebbe Lozer. Go stop here.